Call.
Councilmember Shasteen? Absent. Councilmember Masick? Absent. Councilmember Dean?
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Here.
Councilmember Hennis?
Here.
Councilmember Bratton? Absent. Councilmember Philippin? Here. Councilmemor Caldwell? Here. Mayor Hampson?
Here. If you will stand for Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for everything. Council Lady Phillips, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we gather here today, if our hearts are right, as servants of the people, particularly of Osawatomie. We thank you for this community, its history, its resilience, and the shared hope that we have for our future. As we face important decisions that will shape our town for generations to come, Lord, we ask that you would grant wisdom and guidance to our council. Grant the mayor, the council, clarity of mind, humility of spirit, and courage as they act with integrity. Help them to listen with open hearts to one another and the citizens that they serve, especially among these difficult times where views differ so wildly on so many issues. May your direction mark our meeting with respect and dignity and honor to all. We ask for a balance of stewardship and resources for the care for our neighbors. We ask for a blessing upon our council and each one that's here today. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, John. We'll move on to consent agenda. Consent agenda items to be acted upon in one motion unless the council member requests an item be removed for separate discussion and action.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Dickinson, a second by Councilman Dean to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilmember Hennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Philippin? Aye. Councilmember Caldwell? Aye.
Motion carries. We will move on. Before we start comments from the public, we will be open for comments until 7 p.m. And then we're going to move on to the rest of our business meeting as we have done in the past. So if there is something other than data center stuff here, if you would allow them maybe to give their public comments. We still do not have any new information as for a Q&A on the data center, so we will not be discussing it. We hope to, within a month, the developer should have some more information on size, power, all the things that they need to where they could come down with us and have a public Q&A. But as of for now, we still have no more information than we've had for the past couple months to share. So if you have a comment, that's fine, but there probably won't be much answers back from us as it's been in the past. So whoever would like to go first, we'll open up for public comment. John, do you have any before you go?
All right.
You will be limited to 5 minutes, so please stand to be recognized if you have a comment.
Are we starting with public comments now?
Yes.
Anyone non-data center? That's one pass.
What was that?
Non-data center related comments?
Okay. Thank you, Chris, for that.
Yeah. Chris Bowles, 30750 Osawatomie Road. And I'll start by presenting some in addition to some of the facts that I presented 2 months ago. And yeah, get started. So across the United States, communities that have welcomed data centers have experienced $1 billion or more per year in tax loss subsidies. States such as Texas and Virginia. There have been promised jobs that have never materialized. The Switch Data Center, 1,000 jobs in Grand Rapids, Michigan, delivered only 26. Utility rates have risen in Northern Virginia and across the state by over 250%. The Joliet Aquifer in Illinois is projected to run dry by 2030 due to their industrial and data center water depletion. 2 reservoirs in Corpus Christi are below 10% with a water emergency that arrived this month. And they don't even have data centers. They're just in a drought. Northeastern Florida is in a drought. And the residents of Virginia, Wisconsin, Michigan, to name a few, are losing sleep, suffering anxiety attacks, and describing their communities as becoming industrial wastelands. Because the noise from these facilities that runs 24/7. The children in Memphis have the highest rate of emergency room visits for respiratory illness in the state of Tennessee, in a city where the arrival of an unpermitted gas turbine power plant and data center led to a federal Clean Air Act lawsuit. A request for an emergency court intervention and the documented nitrogen dioxide spikes that primary care physicians have linked directly to lung problems he was seeing in his patients. Peer-reviewed research is projecting 600,000 asthma case symptoms and 1,300 premature deaths from these data centers by 2030. There's $25 billion per year in hidden health and environmental costs documented by Carnegie Mellon University economists, dozens of manufacturing towns that are still recovering from their decades after anchoring employment has left, such as steel and coal mines. The council members have been voted out and mayors are facing recall elections in Virginia, Missouri, California, Wisconsin, and Oklahoma. An entire county in Texas is calling for a moratorium and describing the data center industry as arriving faster than they can keep up with. And I want to be clear, I work in data. I'm a data engineer. I've been around this stuff my entire career. It is not what you think it is. AI can be used responsibly when given in the right hands, and it's not in the right hands. And I have never seen a salesman or an executive from Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Meta, or X, the 5 major providers of AI in this country, in this world. Never once have I heard any of them say, we don't have capacity to serve our customers. They have never turned down a deal. They're always there. These new data centers are not projected for their capacity. So, and just because I want to be clear, I missed this one. Violence has arisen, right? And this is not a threat. This is a warning that revolts that occurred 200 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago are not the same kind of revolts that we see today. And it's not just data center related. It's inequality in pay scales. These are micro revolts and they are going to get worse. Right? We've seen what happened in Northern California when we heard about the shooting of a council member's home in Indiana. And that's not acceptable.
1 minute.
But it is happening. And so I will, time, sir?
1 minute.
1 minute. So my question, again, that I proposed 2 months ago is, with all this evidence in front of you, what specific knowledge does this city council have that makes it believe that none of those things, the health concerns, the violence, the depletion of the water, the job loss, the job inefficiencies, what makes you believe that that won't happen here? Better yet, I'll ask this, think about that, and I'll ask you this question now, and you can give me a short answer, or you can wait till we reconvene in 2 weeks. Give me the optimistic view of the benefits from this data center. Give me the best case scenario. What does this do for us? What does it do for us?
There's a community benefits analysis being conducted, and we hope to have that within a week.
Okay, please bring it next time. I look forward to seeing it.
If it's ready for public release, then we will bring it and we will have a public discussion with the developer.
And we will see it. Yes.
Yes, it will become a public record.
Thank you for your time.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Troy Harp, 33301 Osawatomie Road. Been there since 2002. Family's been born and raised there. This data center will be literally 75 to 80 yards from my deck on my house. It's right behind me. There's a whole community that's right there. It's going to be obliterated by this data center. It'll be unlivable. The state hospital is 200 yards. I used to work there as a nurse. 200 yards from where this data center is going to be. The noise that comes from this thing, the light pollution, the pollution that goes into the ground is not suitable for people with mental health issues. There's over 100 patients there on average, 125, who are already suffering with mental illness. This is not something that's going to be tolerated there. It should be completely unethical by you guys to do this to them. They have no voice. Nobody can speak for them. I don't know if they need their own attorneys to speak for them, but nobody's able to speak for them. Nobody's able to speak for the property owners who are going to lose all of their value. They won't be able to sell their homes. They'll be worth nothing. What are they going to do? They're stuck. Nobody can move there. How is the city going to address the property loss other than just lawsuits generated by an entire row of people who are affected by this? I'm not against technology and I'm not against data centers, but these trillion-dollar companies, Microsoft, Meta, QTS, Google, Amazon, do not need to put them in small towns where our resources are already limited. People's lives are affected by these things. This is real. I'm not angry about data centers. I'm angry about this location. It's not appropriate. These companies have so much money, they can put them wherever they need to. They just want to depend on our infrastructure, our power. There's natural gas lines that run right through these properties. You guys already know that. Eastern Panhandle owns them. They're going to tap right into them and create a power plant right there. There's no way they can't. This thing uses 600 megawatts. That's an insane amount of power that'll power probably about 600,000 homes roughly. And the literature is saying 50 to 100 megawatts. Yes, initially, and then probably 6 months later, they'll stack and it'll keep building. The size of this thing is too large for it to be just 50 megawatts. There's no option for them to not build a power plant there. It's not something, we're not stupid. We know what's going to happen. The amount of water that this thing will use. Data centers use a ton of water, 1 million to 2 million gallons of water, fresh water. Because the problem is these data centers claim to have a closed loop system. They're not closed loop. There's industrial chemicals in there that keep them from corroding. They have anti-scaling agents, biocides. What happens to that? It's ruined. It's like a sludge. They pump it down. They can't reuse it. They need fresh water daily. Osawatomie has 3 files, 3 water rights. I talked to the Division of Water Resources, Leslie, under the Department of Agriculture. We have exactly 662 million gallons of water per year. Divided by 365, it's 1.81 million gallons of water. According to your guys' statistics, we use 700 to 1.5 million in peak use. The data center is going to have first water rights. We cannot let this building burn up. They get first water. Osawatomie doesn't have water. Corps of Engineers meters this water down to the gallon. So what are they going to do? They have to borrow water, buy water. This is what's told to me by the Division of Water Resources. It's irrefutable. You guys have to get water from other municipalities, other rural areas, assuming they've got excess water. Everybody in the city's water is going to go up. That's just how it's going to affect the city. How it's going to affect everybody around is light pollution, noise pollution. The entire industrial process of building these things takes years. It's massive. What are they going to do with the roads? Where are they going to come in? Easements. There is so much harm to do this community. This community is great. We moved out here in Olathe, from Olathe in 2002. Our family's here. There's a lot of people here's lives are going to be messed up. You guys want to put something there that's good for Osawatomie? Let's do it. But a data center is not it. The energy that they create to power this thing is not going to be taxable by the city. They don't produce a product. What's the benefit? The short-term benefit is probably some money that's being thrown here. But how is it going to benefit everybody else who has to live with this thing? It's a forever deal which will change this town forever. You got to think about that. This is something that is impactful on everybody, and it's life-changing. You got to think about this. It's not okay. I'm not going to ask you questions because you already said I can't. But I'm going to make a few statements before I wrap up. Would you guys want this 75 yards to 100 yards from your house? Literally, would you be here voting for this if it was going to go right outside your house, Brett? You wouldn't. None of you guys would, and you know that. If you're intellectually honest, you know that you would not put it right there. Is that my time?
Yes.
Hey guys,
I honestly know most of you. My name's Anna Gross, was born in Sinclair. I live at 33135 Osawatomie Road. And the proposed data center would be about a football field away from my back porch. My family's roots, and I'm going to echo all of the data that they've had. They've done so much wonderful research, but mine's more personal. We've all been around Osawatomie for a really long time. And I'm not going to say data that you guys, all this information, that's not what it is. My family's roots have been in Osawatomie for generations. My grandpa, Bill Sinclair, came here in 1952 to work as a pharmacist. And in 1961, he bought what became Sinclair Drug. Grandpa and the people of this community back then, they invested their lives here because they believed in this small town. And that's what it could continue to be. We do have a lot of issues. I've lived here my whole life, and it makes me sad to see the things that have changed. But we can do it. Many of you in this council remember all of those years. You grew up in the 70s. You knew my grandfather. You knew people like him. You knew Fred Wicke. You knew Dr. Appenfeller. All of those men made this community amazing. That's all I ever hear about is how good Osawatomie was. And it's sad. I hate seeing the way it is now. Downtown was alive. Local businesses were strong. Families stayed here for generations because this town had identity, pride, and connection. It's why I have to ask, what are we protecting with this data center? How are you, as our elected officials, working for good change in our community? The last several years, probably about 10, you guys have all worked for grants. We've had the murals. We have the trails. We have all of these things that we're trying to draw people into this community. If you put that mile, I guess it's about a half a mile of buildings right outside of the Meridazine, is that going to attract a single person to our town? No, it's not going to make it prettier. It's not going to make it more fun for people to come visit. Nobody's going to want to see that. Behind my home, it just won't be good. It will change Osawatomie permanently, just like the last gentleman said. There will be no coming back. There will be no more small town. There will not be an option because we have worked hard to pull people into our community. But if we build this, we're pushing people away from our community. The whole country is abuzz about these big, huge centers coming in. Come to Osawatomie. The location of this 500 megawatt data center, I sure as crap won't move here. I will not be in 66064 anymore because I won't have a choice. I have raised my boys there. My husband and I have remodeled our whole entire home, and it is devastating to think of that being bulldozed, of all of the apple trees, peach trees, all the things that we have built as a family. It would be gone. It will not survive having that behind us. Nobody can live there. You just can't. It's close. We keep hearing the word progress, but who is this progress for? For the families that live here, all of these people, or is it for outside companies looking for tax breaks and infrastructure? Is that what Osawatomie has come to? Big corporations, let's take care of them. I don't think so. That's not from the good old days. That is not what those men and women worked for. It's not going to bring back a small town. It's going to turn us into another industrial corridor where residents are expected to tolerate noise, infrastructure expansion, possible water and electrical issues, and growth that's going to creep closer to your backyards also. It'll make its way to town. I'm asking you to think beyond short-term development and ask yourselves honestly, is this the legacy that you want for our community? Are the warnings that we're hearing from all across the country worth the risk for this town? It's not. And I completely agree. I would love to see this town booming. Thank you.
Brad Reichert, 14713 West 311th Street. FYI, I am on the board of Miami Rural Water 2. Talked about the water plant, and I know you may think it looks poorly on the district, me talking here, but I actually own 2 homes in Osawatomie, which is probably more than some of you folks. So anyway, my question is, getting back to the water plant, are we getting close to any bid openings? Are we getting anywhere with, as far as knowing what the cost is going to be on the plant? Number one. And then number two, we're still assuming the plant's going to be $30 million, right? How has that changed now that diesel is $6 a gallon? And you know how that affects your business. When diesel's $6, everything's gone up. So this plant that was $30 million back when diesel was $3.50, what is it now that everything is $6? And that whole plant construction is all diesel. There's no gas in that thing. So that's my first question. Second question is, if the plant costs do go up, how does that affect your USDA loan? Because you've got a $30 million loan, but let's say the plant's $45 million. How does that affect your loan? And then what is the recourse you have? Because I was told there was no other option to go to another water source because you would have to redo your loans. You would have to resubmit and do all this other stuff. So my question is, how does an increase in this plant cost, how does that affect your loan? And then lastly, I honestly think the smoking gun here is that this plant, the idea of building this plant was to support water for that data center. You're building a 3 million gallon a day plant. You use 700,000 gallons a day. Peak day is 1.5 million. You're building a 3 million gallon a day plant, which is big enough to supply a city of 20,000 people. I just don't know, was the whole idea to build this water plant to support a data center? And if that's the case, what happens if the data center doesn't fly? What does that do to your water rates? Because your water rates are going up again in January. Will they continue to go up after that if this data center doesn't fly? Because I really hope the data center doesn't fly. I obviously wish the plant wasn't going to be built. But my point is, how does this affect it if the data center doesn't go through? Because I honestly think you thought you would sell the city would sell the data center 1 million gallons a day at retail, and that was going to be your saving grace and what have you. So my point is, how does the data center tie into the idea to build this water plant?
The data center had nothing to do with the water plant. The water plant the decision to build a new water plant was made in 2021, 4 years before we had any idea that the data center was even looking at Osawatomie.
Okay.
So the data center had no bearing on it. Yes, the plant will be 3 million gallons per day at capacity, but it's 2 1.5 million gallon trains. Your own water plant, you guys sell 2 million gallons of water a day. Your water plant can produce 6 million gallons a day. So, I mean, there's really no difference in what we're doing versus what Rural Water District Number 2 did.
Difference is you're spending $30 to $50 million. You're borrowing $30 to $50 million, where I felt like you could have gotten water way cheaper. You could have gotten water.
We've been down the road, Brad.
I know that, and I understand that. But the point is,
We're borrowing $30 million, not 30 to 50.
if the plant's $30 million,
We're borrowing 30 million. We've already done the loan.
what if the
And you
plant's
guys
more than 30?
overspent what you budgeted for on Rural 2.
What if the plant is more than 30 million?
It's a $48 million project.
18 million for your
Yes,
distribution.
so
That's a
once the
grant.
$30 million loan is used, then we dip into the grant. So if the plant comes in at 35 million, then that's 5 million that can't be spent on distribution, and we only have a $13 million distribution project.
So you're saying what you're going to do is you're going to leave all the old lead pipe in the ground and that kind of stuff.
I don't even know that we have any lead pipe in the ground.
We have very little lead pipe in the ground.
All right. My point is, I just think what's going to wind up happening is you're not going to do anything with your distribution. You're going to get a plant.
What's your thoughts?
That's my
We'll find out in a month.
Is that when you're going to open bids?
And we'll have guaranteed maximum price in July.
Okay, so if it's 50 million, what do you do? If it's 50 million, what do you do?
We build a single train. If it's not going to be, because we've been sitting through meetings with our contractor and our engineer, and we already know that it's not going to be 50 million. But in this scenario that you're throwing out there, if it was going to be 50 million,
record that for city of Osawatomie versus building the plant, number one. Number two, I do feel like regardless of where everybody says, the data center plays a huge part in your water sales and that's what affects your water rates. That's what I can say.
Just a conspiracy.
Find out different. All right. Ian Day, 36397 West 367th Street. After last city council meeting, it is blatantly obvious how this hyperscale data center deal is going to play out if Brent has his way. Every single one of you authorized this agreement and let Alcove and Brent make a deal. So you are solely responsible for this. As Nick said, no one wants their feet held to the fire. Well, I'm afraid that's unavoidable. Next month, when an NDA is signed, you won't be able to back out, even if a moratorium is put into place after the fact. Alcove will sue and still be able to build. This has already happened in other towns. But that's the plan, isn't it? You know what a hyperscale data center will do. How could you not? Take a few minutes sometime and read the horror stories happening in other parts of rural America. You think you have power? Wait until you give all of our rights to big tech. You will have no control and all of us will be put on restrictions like water. But hey, at least you'll get to write citations and fine people for being water abusers. Now is your chance to back out with a majority vote, even though they're not here. I would like to see who is for this and who on this council is against that. Wouldn't you guys like to see that? How about we have somebody put it to a motion? Yeah, what do you know? The same deer in the headlight look as last time. Your silence speaks volumes. Building a hyperscale data center next to an active psychiatric hospital and a separate facility across the street to the south that is a place for people recovering from addiction is unethical, cruel, and inhumane. And because of that, here's my promise to you. I'm going to make sure the national spotlight gets shined on each and every one of you. One man and council members should not decide the fate of multiple communities in several states that will be affected by this. I only have two questions. What is the exact date that you signed that agreement with Alcove? The exact date.
I didn't sign the agreement with Alcove.
The pre-development agreement, because in 6 months, that's when they get to agree, and then the NDA. What day?
I don't know. It was January sometime, and the mayor signed it.
Please find us.
It's $1 billion deal and you don't remember.
Hold on. Please find out for me, please. And also, the last thing I got is I have heard rumor that you and Dustin Baker of Alcove are college buddies. Is that true or not?
No, I never met him until
All right. Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Daniel Abeg, 30045 West 341st Street Terrace. I don't have any prepared statements, and I want to applaud everyone who did some research on this. They've got a lot more information than I do. What I would like to ask is, and the question that was asked before is, who decided this was a good idea in the first place? Because all I see is corporations making money. For instance, Osawatomie can produce something on the order of 18 megawatts of energy. This data center is going to eat between 50 and 150, if you believe the publications, which is 3 to 8 times the current infrastructure. So that means we're going to have infrastructure development. Kansas law allows infrastructure development to be paid for by the ratepayers, as well as profit margin added into that. So I believe the city is a utility company as well.
That's general infrastructure improvements by a utility, yes, but large load customers that are driving the impact for the requirement for the infrastructure improvements, that cannot be spread amongst the ratepayers. That has to be borne by the large load customer. That's in state statute.
I would like to see that statute.
Get it for you.
So in addition to that, as mentioned, you've got a mental facility, a rehabilitation facility, and a large population of the Northland that has already been, for lack of a better word, abused by the city, being annexed, taxed, unrepresented, and forced to basically sue for their freedom from the city. So this feels a little bit like a retribution. take that however you want, but, we're getting a little tired of being picked on. You basically annexed the entire area around us, fenced us in, over patrol the area. It's amazing to me how outsiderish I feel in my own community. And this is doing nothing to mend that trust issue I have. And that's what you're really violating, is my trust. And it's very offensive to me. That's all I have. Warren Woods, 1473 Virginia Terrace, Osawatomie, Kansas. I come here in 1972, worked for the railroad, as Nick knows. We had 5 grocery stores in this town, and now we have none. Our electric rates in this town was unbelievable. Kansas City Power and Light people were paying every 2 months. We were paying once a month, and we were paying almost double what they were paying every 2 weeks. This town has done nothing but screw the residents. And they will not and have not ever done anything for these residents. That's why I moved out of here in 1986. But my grandkids still live here. They still go to school here. And I'm here to protect them from this data center. Every one of you people, if this thing goes through, your families will not be able to live in this town because you'll be run out based on the information on the internet of these data centers and what they're doing. And if you haven't done your research on this, you're not doing what's best for the community and for your constituents. We did Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Did you pledge your honor to these residents in this town? Are you making the right decision for them? It's obviously, it shouldn't even be come up in this town. If you've done your research, you need to vote this thing completely out and save yourselves, because the people will come down hard on you for this. I guarantee it. And I'll be right behind them. And I hope you can make the right decision on this stuff, because you'll never be able to show your face in this town again. I guarantee it. It's that bad. You guys just need to do the research on what's happening in these other towns. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't true. I thank this gentleman for making a prayer. And I pray to God that you will do the right thing here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Courtney Crawford. I live at 30842, that's Indianapolis Road in Paola. Many of you know me. I've worked with many of you in the community. My family's been here for over 100 years. My roots are deep here. I am running for House District 5. Part of Osawatomie is in that district. I have been to several city council meetings across District 5 in the last 2 weeks regarding data centers. I stand strong against data centers. We do not know the environmental impacts and the long-term effects it will have on our communities. That should be a major concern. From my understanding, this developer does not have any operational data centers. You can see and read testimonies also across the country of current operational data centers on how they are truly impacting communities from water, power, and environment. It's not good. I'm asking the City Council to please consider a 1-year moratorium to give time to have independent third-party study on health and safety and effects that would also incorporate looking at the water. So I want to tell you a story what happened the other day. So I went to Edgerton meeting on Tuesday. They had an informal meeting and people were able to speak with the developers in person. One of the questions that I asked was, why Kansas? Why here? Why the Midwest? Why not Dubai, where that owner of that company was from? And you know what they said? Our resources. I want that to sink in. Our resources. Why? Are we gonna give our resources to these trillion-dollar companies and suck our communities dry? Your constituents are asking you, begging you to please put a moratorium on data centers for a year. Thanks.
My name is Jennifer Harp. I live at 33301 Osawatomie Road. I have been a high school teacher for 30 something years now. And I tried very hard in my class not to be a hypocrite. I don't eat in my classroom in front of my kids because I don't want them to eat. I don't go to the bathroom all the time because I don't want them leaving all the time. I don't use my phone because that's against the rules. But what I'm seeing here is a little bit of hypocrisy. And I know that you said you don't answer questions, but you have in fact answered some questions. So I'm just wondering if you were honest, out loud honest, and knew that this data center was going to be less than a football field from your back deck, would you vote for it? Would you even consider it? Is anybody willing to answer that out loud?
That is the answer.
That's the question.
You said you don't answer questions, but then you did. So I'm a little confused. You're applying the rules at times that you want to. And I see the students out there scrolling on their phone because they don't like what's being hid. I see this body language because you don't want to hear from us. What's going to happen, whether or not this data center goes in, is you have made enough people angry that they will want to and make a concerted effort to vote you out. And I'm sure if you have been on any kind of social media or news or done any research, you know that that's happening. It happened right outside St. Louis. They got rid of them. We would be happy to do that too. Something else that I don't appreciate in my students that I've seen is sneakiness. Yes, this is on annexed city land. My house, right next to it, is in the county land, so I get no vote. We are the closest people to it. Us and our neighbors are the people most affected by what could happen here. Yet we get no vote because you very sneakily annexed everything behind us. And you can say it was public, but that doesn't mean it wasn't sneaky. So I don't get a vote. Ask yourself very honestly, would you want to be, do you want to take my house? We can switch houses. You can live right outside the data center. I'd be glad. But I feel like you have to be honest with yourself. And if you are fine with it, we're all going to be ready to sell. So come buy a house.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Allred. I live in Miami County, about 2 miles from the proposed site of the Northland Data Center. The agreement for this data center commits the city to providing up to 1 million gallons of water per day and supporting power needs of 50 to 150 megawatts, while offering a 50% property tax abatement for 10 years. And the agreement is still in the due diligence phase, but no environmental and infrastructure studies have yet been publicly presented. I support responsible economic development, but this scale of industrial use raises serious concerns. The water demand, 1 million gallons per day, is equivalent to the usage of thousands of households. Similar facilities elsewhere have strained the local aquifers and increased pressure on rural water systems. Power requirements. A 150 megawatt load is enormous for our area. Kansas recently updated large load tariffs through the KCC to better protect ratepayers, but grid updates and reliability impacts on existing customers still need full evaluation. Noise and operations. Data centers run 24/7 with constant cooling fans and backup generators. In other communities, the noise is audible for 2 to 3 miles or more, disrupting sleep, wildlife, and quality of life in quiet rural settings. And long-term compatibility. The site is currently open land, and converting it to a large industrial campus with associated infrastructure could affect property values, traffic on county roads like 335th Street, and rural character that residents, my family included, have chosen and invested here. I respectfully request that the council require independent third-party studies on noise levels, groundwater impact, electric grid capacity and costs, and traffic completed and made public before any further approvals or incentives, and consider a temporary or permanent pause on final approvals until these impacts are thoroughly understood, similar to steps taken in other Kansas communities. Thank you for your time.
My name's Lynn Jensen. I live at 24225 Lookout Road. 20-some years ago, we had meetings right down here in the park about this property being transferred to the city of Osawatomie. They got 20 years. If it didn't produce a profit, it reverted back to the state. Well, somehow this got all slid around. Nobody told anybody that this was going on. It used to be in Miami County, if you had fireworks, you had to notify everybody around you for 1,000 feet. How do we get this thing going and don't tell nobody? That's what I'd like to know. I was at that meeting. Why don't they announce it? Say, this is what we're doing. We're going to sneak in and try to get something going. And then there won't be as many people barking about it. I got a challenge for you. Each one of you. You represent somebody in this city. Go out between now and the next meeting and talk to 100 people in your territory. Say, hey, what do you think about this data center? What do you think? And they may say, well, I don't know about it. And they may say they hate it. But find out for yourself who you represent, what they think. I guarantee you, these folks right here are just ordinary people. I don't know hardly any of them. But they don't come down here to say something because they don't have nothing to do. You guys are messing with their life, their house, everything. I don't understand how you can sit here and not even answer. Are you for it? Raise your hand. Yeah, I'm good for it. No, you tuck your eyes down because you're ashamed. You're representing these people. Stand up and represent them. Don't let somebody tell you what to vote for. That's not right. All of you, I challenge you. Go talk to your constituents and see what they say, and then vote accordingly.
Yeah, because we are the people.
Amen. And you understand, in our society today, about 85 to 95% of people distrust government. You guys are government. People don't trust you. You know why? Because just like this deal that happened on this property, we were told the citizens in 20 years, it reverts back if they don't show a profit. And they sneak around and the commissioner comes over and gives approval a year ahead of time. Well, he never come and talked to me. He never talked to anybody around because I asked him. Oh, I did that last year. Why? Why aren't we up to date on this stuff? Don't be trying to hide from people. Represent them. Stand up and say something for them.
Hello, Renee Loping. I live at 33925 Osawatomie Road. I've been here before in front of you during the de-annexation. You annexed us. We fought it. Didn't matter. You took us anyway. Did nothing for us for all those years. We fought to get de-annexed again. You guys let us go. You admitted we didn't, live up to what you had promised. Now you're gonna build this data center, maybe. And again, nobody's asking us. Well, now we're not part of the city, so you don't have to ask us. Our vote, our opinion doesn't matter. But it does. My husband and I are in the process of trying to sell our house. We're delayed now because of damages from the hailstorm. Our real estate agent that we've been talking to has told us that we may have to wait until you decide what you need to do with this data center. Because as it looks right now, they're not sure they can even sell our house with a data center being built there. Even the prospect of a data center being built there. That really puts a hardship on me. I'm trying to build a house south of town so I can take care of my mother and my stepfather who are in their 80s and can't take care of themselves anymore. I need to live out there. I need to build my house. I can't sell my house that I currently live in, which I need the money to build my other house. So my question is, you think you can just do what you want and that it won't matter to the rest of us, the people up there, the Northland Project. We don't matter. We don't count. We fought you. We got out of it. Now I feel like we're being punished. I feel like the city council, and I'm telling you, I work for the city, or not the city. I work for the school district. I've lived here for over 30 years in my house. I've worked for the school district driving a school bus for over 20 years. Every person that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of people, a lot of parents in this school district, in this city, and they all feel like you feel we are an uneducated bunch of morons and that you know better than we do. Now, I'm not just making this up. That's how they feel. I mean, have you any idea what it feels like to live in a city, in a town, where the people who are running it for you, that are working for you, are making decisions for you, think that you're an idiot? That is how we feel, that you think that we are uneducated and that we can't make decisions based on fact, that we're doing everything emotionally, that we're fear-mongering and making people, feel this way about this data center because we don't want it built by our houses. It's not just that. Yeah, I don't want it up there. I'm not even going to be living there. Hopefully, thank God, I can build a house somewhere else. But the people that have to stay there and have to live there with this in their backyard, it's unacceptable. The state hospital people, the patients who have no voice, it is unacceptable. I don't know how you think that this is a good idea. Yeah, a data center is about 10 to 15 years. Do you know that, before they're obsolete and they move on to another town? You give them this tax break for 10 years, we might get 5 years of taxes out of them. Maybe. Chances are they're not going to do that, because in other towns, they're not doing that. As soon as they hit that 10-year mark or whatever they've gotten from that little town that they've destroyed, they move on. They move to another community where they get another tax break. And then that town, that city, they've got useless. It's useless. Useless land, useless water, useless all of it. I mean, do your research. God help us. Everyone here is doing their own research. We've got all this information that you guys can easily get on your own. You don't need us to tell you this. You don't need anybody to tell you this. Look it up. This is ridiculous. And I can tell you, if I can't sell my house, I'm going to be one mad woman. And I can't guarantee that I'm not going to file a lawsuit against the city of Osawatomie for making my house unsellable. It's not acceptable. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You live here, you work here, you have families here. Some of you have been here your entire lives. And you're going to go out into the public and you're going to tell these people, you're going to look them in the eye and say, this is what's good for Osawatomie. This is what's good for us. We're going to make so much money off this. Oh yeah, maybe during construction, but chances are that construction is going to come from somewhere else, not from our little community. The people that are going to work there, maybe 20 people on a full-time basis, 20 people, they're not coming from Osawatomie. Their data, their tech, their whatever, they're not coming from here. What is it creating for us? If we're not going to get tax revenue from them, if we're not going to get jobs from them, what the heck are we getting it for? I agree with what that other gentleman said. Go out in the community, talk to the people, not just your friends who might be on the same side as you or don't want to tell you to your face that they're against it. Talk to the people. Talk to a wide number of people. You're going to find out how they feel.
My name's Luke Wilson. I live at 33465 Osawatomie Road. The last place I want to be right here is at a podium speaking to people, but I feel like I don't really have a choice. I'm about 100 feet from one of the two 300 megawatt substations, and I'm boxed in by this proposal. And to echo some of my neighbors, I'm concerned about home value and not being able to sell. There's some of us that are out there that our properties mean something, and we don't want to move, and we're going to see this thing through one way or another. And if we get stuck with it, I don't believe any of us should be losing a penny to the city of Osawatomie for our home values. We're also curious about the power supply. It's no secret that the Lacine power plant is supposed to be decommissioning in 3 phases at some point, as early as maybe 2029, 2032. If this is a 10-year plus project that you guys are planning to tax, where's the power going to come from? Are they going to run that infrastructure and then find another power plant? We want to know where the 600 megawatts of power is going to come from. Lacine power plant is capable of 14 to 1600 megawatts of power. I've never been accused of being good at math, but I'd say this is over a third of the power capacity of the power plant. Are they going to tap into the natural pipeline that runs underneath a lot of our properties? We'd all like to know. I'd like to make investments in my home. Don't know if it's worth it because we don't know what the future holds for us in our community. Also, you should go out and talk to myself, my neighbors, come on out to my property and look at it from the other side. This isn't pleasant to live near. There's many firsthand accounts of people that find their lives miserable when these things are in and operational. Thank you for your time.
My name is Polly Insforth, Dean Insforth's wife. I have nothing to say to these people behind me. They are not listening to you. They are being so incredibly rude. There is one person at this table that cares about what you guys are saying, and she's sitting right there. I've watched all of their body language. I've watched everything that they're doing. They do not care. Brett has kept this a secret as long as he can. Everything's going to be a secret until they start digging. His biggest nightmare when they were going up to Topeka, and Jackie put it out on social media, was that I would show up and that I would be there and he would see me there. And I showed up and told our legislators about the poor people that are trapped in the state hospital that are going to be there and have no choice. And I thank you all for showing up and being their voice, not just the patients, but the staff. I mean, what a nightmare. I'm a nurse, and I could not imagine taking care of a psychiatric patient that was so stressed, and there was nothing you can do because the noise is not stopping, the vibration is not stopping, nothing is stopping the light pollution at night, and they are just tortured. And we have turned a state mental hospital that is supposed to be a place of healing into a place that is just a torture chamber. I thank every one of you today for showing up and being their voice. We are not going to get anything out of these people. They have put us in a corner where we have no other choice. We have an attorney involved now. We are going to recall every single one of them, not just them. There are 2 of our county commissioners that we will recall, not Paul Scruggs. Love that guy. But we will be recalling George Pretz and Tyler Vaughn. So the county needs to get ready too, because we're going after them. Because I have talked to enough people. He is here tonight to listen to us, to hear us, to be with us. So he is a good man. He cares about the data centers. The rest of them need to be replaced. So we need to find replacements for all of these people. We need to find somebody that is willing to step forward and take the places of the county commissioners that we get rid of. We need to get our neighbors registered to vote. We need to get our neighbors informed. We need to get everybody involved. And I hope that if nobody steps forward to run for mayor, that I will get to move to Osawatomie and do that. And I will say, well, you're fired. I would love that more than anything. So stay involved, get your neighbors involved, get everybody informed. This is the only choice that we have. They are silenced. Brett has told every one of them they cannot speak. So even though they are his bosses, they are castrated. They are wearing duct tape over their mouth that you cannot see. But Brett has told them they're not allowed to talk to you, so they are not talking to you. That is how it is in Osawatomie. Brett is the leader of the gang, and everybody else just cowers to him. We do not cower to him. We are his boss. He lives and dies off of my federal tax dollars that are taken by force out of my check. I'm not an Osawatomie resident, but I have to pay the federal taxes that make his city run. So I have every right to stand up and say, he is not going to get another dime for his data center over my dead body. And that's all I have.
Yeah.
We got less than 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, so
this will be your last speaker.
this will be your last.
Hi, how y'all doing? I'm actually not right here, but I've lived at Gardner, Kansas all my life. I'm sorry, I always mess up. Robin Harris. My address is 34117 West 263rd Street, Paola, Kansas, and I live right by the watershed, Hillsdale Lake. And I'm just wondering when they're going to start going after it. I wanted to tell you guys, I'm on a thing called Say No to Data Centers. I don't know if you guys are on it. It is nationwide. Okay? I'm like the other gentleman there. I don't have college, but I like to think I got good common sense. Whenever we serve for the public, you are to consider your constituents. You're consider do I have a time limit too? Because I'll speed it up. Everyone's different, okay? Okay, good. I'm gonna hurry up then. So I came down here because I've been at Gardner's, I've been at Edgerton's, and I hate to see this happen, you guys. You don't get nothing out of it. What are you gonna get out of it? And I hope this is over. Maybe y'all can answer, because I'd really like to know. If somebody ain't getting little money to themselves or their favorite club or something, there's a problem. I want to read you guys something. This might be the most important thing. Do your research. Come on. If you guys are committed, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm talking to you all. You represent the people, right? Didn't the people vote all you in except maybe one? I don't know. I'm going to tell you something, though. You need to represent, you need to be kind, and you need to take care of the environment and not suck down all the darn water. These things can poison the aquifers. Anybody aware of where aquifers at nationwide? They're going away. We are not zone 5 anymore, Warm. We are 6A. Well, I live by Hillsdale Lake. Whenever it's going to rain, we don't get it out there. I'm going to read you something. I may run out of time. Anyway, here's something that popped up. Billionaire con men are striving to replace countless jobs with AI. This is not science fiction. You need my glasses. This is not science fiction. Listen to them. They're wanting to take how much local resources everywhere on your backs, your family, your grandma, all you guys. This is you guys too. It's not just them. They're just trying to tell you, this is what you got. Don't do this. And electrical power sources. Not today, but tomorrow. But I think it's more like, anytime. Okay, they offer you 25 jobs. That's permanent jobs outsourced. And I hope you're aware of that. That means none of you are going to have any of those jobs, or your family, or your son-in-law, or whatever. Data center requirements, specialized tax exemption, they get that. Okay. Like they said, the data centers are like your cell phone. They're only good maybe 5 to 7 years. How are you going to control all that stuff? You get a phase 1, then you get a phase 2. You're going to have carbon emissions from the generators. Everybody that is affected that lives around this, I would be suing. And when you sue, and I'm not threatening, I'm just saying, this is what happens. If it affects them, and anybody can be pulled into that, you're taking away their freedom, their peace, their quiet, and you're loading them on the water. There can be rations. Heck, darn wells years ago started doing, hey, slow down, slow down. I read a thing too. What is the deal? I don't know who said it. You guys get your water from what? Lacine or Merzine?
Yes.
Somebody said they walked across it at one point. How are you going to supply that water without pushing it off on your constituents? Please think. This is common sense. You don't get a good trade-off. These take away jobs. One more quick thing if I can rip it up. Meta right now has already taken away 8,000 jobs and 6,000 more on the sidelines. That's one company. That's not Google. That's not any of the others. We don't need this many hyper data centers. Common sense tells you that. Please don't fall prey to that. Please don't fall prey to that. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. Absolutely. Because when they do the blowdown, they blow down and they blow down heavy metals. Everybody knows that heavy metals are not good for you. How do you know you're not going to get PFASs? You know what that is? That's your forever chemicals. I just hope you're listening. Nobody's really here to, they're just trying to tell you guys. But people can be voted out if you can't understand what all these people are trying to say. And probably most of the people in town don't know this meeting's going on, but you know what? I'll go door to door. I'm retired. I got time. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to presentations, proclamations, appointments. We have a presentation of our 2025 audit from Jared, Gilmore, and Phillips, VA.
Good evening. Neil Phillips with Jared, Gilmore, and Phillips prepared your independent audit for this year. So everybody got a copy in front of them?
Yeah.
All right, let's skip.
Wait, we might pause for a second. Pause for a minute.
Yeah. Don't leave. I got a lot of good stuff to say.
You know you do, but this is our second job and we have to get home to our kids. You still have time to do something right.
Thanks.
There's no amount of money that this man can bring in that's gonna change us. Hey, don't erode the public trust. Okay. Might wanna force up a tourism committee because on tour, not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Disappointed they didn't all want to stay. I'm told I get a little boring.
I'll try this again. Folks, if we're going to carry on a conversation, can we go outside?
They don't care about people with disabilities, so they're not gonna hear my people.
Hear you. Now we try.
All right, good evening. Neil Phillips with Jared, Gilmore, and Phillips prepared your independent audit for this year. Let's get past the letters that are in your document, and we're going to dive straight into the audit report. The audit report that's on page 1, 2, 3 is the independent audit report. The first paragraph talking about what we will be in the city as of December 31st, 2025. The next two paragraphs are you actually received 2 opinions with your financial statements. The first one is what they call an adverse opinion on generally accepted accounting principles, because in the state of Kansas, we follow what they call the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting.
Means we can't spend the money if we don't have it in the fund, and we can't obligate the funds if we don't have the public's approval. The third paragraph down there is actually the most important paragraph in the entire document. It is what they call an unmodified opinion. So what that means to you is, based on the testing that we did, we feel like you have a materially accurate representation of what happened with the city during this last year and how you ended the year without any further modification needed. Now, a lot of times you'll hear the slang term, a clean opinion. Again, that's the slang term, but you have a clean opinion on your financial statements, meaning we believe that they're materially correct. The next section talks about the basis for opinions, the fact that we follow auditing standards that are generally accepted in the United States of America. Then, because of the federal money that you had flowing through the city this last year, we followed government auditing standards. So we actually had 2 layers of testing that we did, plus there's actually a third layer there. We follow the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide. So we've got 3 layers of testing that we do when we come in to do your audit. The next section at the bottom of that page and goes on to the next page is your responsibilities with these numbers, telling you that these are your numbers, your representations. Then the next section talks about the auditor's responsibilities. Then we get into the supplemental information, in which we're telling you that we've audited everything that's in the little blue book here. And then the very last paragraph on page 1 talks about government auditing standards. It's telling you there are other audit reports that are out there. You're going to see it's bound in the same document here. They call it a single audit reporting package. So we think it makes best sense to go ahead and staple it or bind it together with this exact same document. So we're going to talk about those letters here in just a minute. But that paragraph is telling users of financial statements, if they get an audit without those, they are somewhere else. Page 4, that's where we spend the majority of our time. I won't go page by page when we get back to the funds. Page 4, it is defined by state statute as to show users at a glance that we're in compliance with the cash basis laws of the state of Kansas. Meaning we can't obligate the funds unless we have the money in the fund. Got to have the money in the bank. If you look at that 4th column over, as you glance down through there, if you've seen any of those funds negative, that would be a violation of Kansas statute, meaning we obligated funds in excess of the fund balance, or the unencumbered cash is what they actually call it with regulatory basis. As you can see there, we didn't have any of those situations that arose. Now, I like this statement because a lot of times the public, they hear we have $6.5 million of cash in the bank, and they want to know why we're not doing this or why we're not doing that. Well, this statement helps break that down. Like the very top line is your general fund, which is your police, your parks, your fire, those general government items. You can see we started the year out with $59,000. We brought in $4 million, spent $3.8, so we actually increased our unencumbered cash balance to $281,000. General fund, general dollars. That is still a low number. You are required to have cash in that fund to make payments. That's less than 1 month. You don't get your tax payment till the end of January, so it's important we continue to try to build that reserve by a little bit in that general fund. But that's $281,000 of that $6.5 million that we're talking about. When you get down to the next section, they call it special purpose funds. And they named them that because those monies are set aside or by statute for a specific purpose. The easiest one to talk about usually is like the street fund. There's some special highway gas tax that's out there. Every time somebody in the state of Kansas puts gas in their car, some gas tax goes to the state of Kansas, comes back to us based on population, and we can't spend that for anything but streets and alleys. We can't spend it on our water plant. We can't spend it on sewer. We can't spend it on electric. Only streets and alleys. And so each of the names listed out there in the special purpose funds help you see how we can spend those monies. Can't just spend them on anything. Library's money's coming in, can only be spent on the library. Those cash carryover numbers. Then about halfway down the page, you can see there's a bond and interest fund. That's our monies that we collect to pay our bonds. Then the last section, they actually changed the name of those a few years ago, and they call them business funds. They want you to realize, and users of the financial statements to realize, that our utility funds are considered a business in the state of Kansas. It says that we can use those dollars once we pay all the bills of that utility fund for anything that you feel like, basically. It's a profit motivated fund. But we gotta be careful. Our infrastructure is getting older. We have a sewer lift station go out. I had a city that called me the other day. They did not have money in their sewer fund, and they had a sewer lift station went out that was really deep in the ground. They were having to bring in a specialized truck. It was going to cost them about 80 grand to replace this lift station. They didn't have 80 grand. Our infrastructure is expensive, and it costs a lot of money to replace. So we've got to be able to build those reserves up to have cash, not only for that type of thing, but for leveraging. You know, get a loan to get those grants. Most of the time they require you to have some matching or some kind of leverage to help you pay for the project. So if you look at the very bottom line, you can see there, we started the year out with $6,061,000. We brought in $22 million as a city, and we spent $22.6 million. So actually our unencumbered cash went down by the $5.4 million of our cash carryover. Now you got to remember, we had $1.5 million of ARPA money that was sitting in our bank account. So actually, if you take that into account, we spent that money during 2025. Take that into account, we still had a pretty good year. You're going to see that there's a nice increase in all of our funds, like the general fund going from 59 to 281, your electric fund going from 21 to 201. So I actually have a pretty good picture there when you actually look at your financial statements. The last two columns, we add back the accounts payable, those encumbrances, those obligations that are in the expenditure column to get to the total cash balance of $6.5 million. And then the next page reconciles that down by checking account, investment, CD. Questions about that statement? I truly feel like that's the most important statement because it helps you be able to explain to the public that no, we can't just spend our money anywhere, anyhow, any way we please. There are restrictions in different areas of the different funds. All right, page 6 starts into the words to the financial statements. Footnote number 1, you're going to read through that. You're going to see any audit in the state of Kansas. Actually, there's only a couple cities that actually follow GAAP. The rest of the cities all follow the regulatory basis of accounting. So you're going to see this same footnote. It talks about what the regulatory basis of accounting is, how we recognize cash receipts, our budget process, how we do special assessments. You get it over to page 9, in which we get into information that's specific to you. And the first thing we talk about is stewardship, compliance, and accountability. You do have some reserves that are required to be held out there. And as you look through the middle of that page, you can see that we did meet our reserve requirements. We're required to have the money set aside the month prior to making payment. As you can see there with those calculations, you are above the required amount by $2.61, but you're above the amount. We talk about a net income requirement. Talks about the fact that you did meet your rate covenant that you have signed in your bond agreements. Top of the next page talks about deposits and investments. We are limited in the state of Kansas. We can't take that $6.5 million and go out and buy crypto. We can't go out and invest in the stock market. We are limited about where and how we can invest our funds. As you look through that paragraph, there's a lot of information there. I'm just going to say that all of your funds were covered, were legal, covered with securities pledged. Everything fell within Kansas statutes. Page 11. Page 11 is your long-term debt, the long-term liabilities of the city. You can see they're broke down by section. The first section there is the general obligation bonds. Then you've got your revenue bonds, the state revolving loans, and then the financing leases that you have on hand. You can see we started the year out with 26 million. Added to that 3.7, which a big chunk of that's your water loan of 1.9. Paid that down by 1.9 and actually ended the year with $28.7 million of long-term debt. And then the next page shows the payout of that long-term debt. You're going to see it's in 5 years and 5-year chunks after that because most of your planning as a city is done in 5-year phases. All right, I'm not going to sit and read all the rest of these pages to you. Flip back to page 18. Page 18 is statement number 1. It's defined by state statute as to show users at a glance that we're in compliance with the budget laws of the state of Kansas. That's that public approval. We have a public hearing. The public helps approve our budget. As you glance down through there, I know negative is good in this situation. Negative is under budget. As you can see there, our budget, total budget for comparison was $3,907,000. We spent $3,807,000. So we were actually under our publicly approved budget by $100,000 in the general fund. So it shows all of your funds there. You can see all of them were under the publicly approved amounts. Then the next huge big section, probably 25 or so, 6 pages there, is the detail. This is in the same format as your state budget format. So when you guys are working on budget coming up here, you could refer back to this if you have questions about where some of the numbers came from. But we put a prior year comparison in there so you can see where you were in 25 or 24 compared to 25. Like the very top line is ad valorem taxes. You can see in 2024, we collected $1,139,000. In 2025, we collected $997,000, but you actually levied $1,052,000. So that very last column at $55,000, that is your citizens that did not pay their property taxes this last year. But the hope is the next line down is called delinquent taxes. Hopefully that 55,000 comes in 2026. You can see in 25, we actually collected $45,000 of delinquent taxes. So hopefully our county clerk or treasurer is good at collecting those taxes, and those monies will come in the subsequent year. But this is all the line item detail. I'm not going to go through each of the different pages. They should be really close to the numbers that you've already seen. When you look, I have a letter here in just a second we're going to talk about. You're going to see there was only a couple adjustments. So the numbers from where you last seen them to where they show up in here shouldn't be unexpected as you're looking through this. So with that being said, I'm going to have you turn all the way back to page 50. I told you I'm not going to go page by page with all those fund numbers unless you do have questions. I'd always be glad to answer questions if I had to. On page 50, this is the section that starts in because we're following government auditing standards. The first schedule in there is called a schedule of expenditures of federal awards. You've got the provided to subrecipients, which you can see is none, cash receipts of 1.9, disbursements of 1.4, which the majority of our grants are, a reimbursement type of basis. You got to spend the money and then wait for reimbursement. But I'll list that out by the different U.S. departments. You've got the U.S. Department of Transportation, which we got $4,900. That's most generally that's your ticket or click it. You'll have those over Memorial Day, Labor Day. The state reimburses you some of the money for doing those programs. It is federal money. Got U.S. Department of Treasury. There's that COVID money that I was talking about a while ago with your base grant, that $1.5 million. There's no cash receipts in that column because you got it in the past. You spent it and obligated it in 2015. Then the very last line there is the water loan project. The project that you have out there is federal, the federal dollars. The loan program is a federal program. And so the $1.9 million that you got last year, actually, you spent $967,000 of that money during this year for a total of 2.4. We always like that number because you got to think about that coming out of the federal taxpayer's pocket. It's a lot bigger pocket than our local taxpayers paying property taxes. Has a big economic impact on our local economy. Page 51 and 52 is the first of the reports because we follow those government auditing standards. This report is reporting on internal controls and compliance at the upper city level. This is bank reconciliations. This is cash receiving, cash disbursements. This is internal controls such as reporting to you. If we found any problems encountered while we were documenting your internal controls, they would be noted in this report. As you read through this report, you're going to see there was no items that were considered a material weakness or significant deficiency that needed to be brought to your attention as a council. The next page, 53, 54, and 55, take that down to what they call the major program level, in which we have to take the federal money that you have, basically, and verify you spent it right. You followed all the laws and regulations. Now, we can't test you for every law and regulation that's out there. The federal government steps up and hands us a list of things to test on an annual basis. With your COVID money, that's what we tested, the base grant. We tested that as your major program. So we look at reporting, we look at allowable cost, we look at the internal controls over allowable cost, over reporting, over cash management, there's 14 areas of compliance that we test when we do your single audit. And as you read through that report, those 30 pages, you're going to see it as an unmodified opinion because we do test those controls. It is an opinion-based paragraph or report. It is an unmodified opinion, meaning we had no problems, no findings, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. Page 56 is where everybody says I should have went in the first place. The federal government does not want to have to look page by page. They want a one-page synopsis. That first bold heading that says financial statement, that was the audit report that was on page 1, 2, and 3. You can see it's a short sentence that says it was a modified opinion on GAAP. However, it was an unmodified opinion on the regulatory basis of accounting. Internal control over financial reporting, that was the first report that was on page 51 and 52. Again, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no non-compliance. The next bold heading says federal awards. That's the report that's on page 53, 54, and 55. Again, no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses. It was an unmodified opinion. There are no findings. It tells you that we did test your base grant as the major program. And auditee qualify as a low risk auditee. You are marked as a no. The federal government does not recognize the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting as an acceptable basis of accounting. So every school district in every city that have a single audit is not considered a low risk auditee, which all that means is that we have to test at least 40% of your funds. So we end up testing more by being a non-low risk auditee. So everybody in the state of Kansas, if you get federal money, they're always going to look at least 40% because we follow, in the state of Kansas, we follow the regulatory basis of accounting. Can't spend it if we don't have it. Can't spend it if we don't have that public approval. Our bonds actually sell first on an open market before other states because people know that basis of accounting and that law is there by state statute that says those things. So it's not a bad basis, but the federal government doesn't recognize it at this moment. It's actually Oklahoma too, Nebraska too. There's quite a few states that have it, but it's not recognized. The last section, findings, you can see they all say none, and the last page also says none. Now, there was a separate letter that was in your packets. This letter is what they call a letter to those charged with governance. Doesn't go out to the public, doesn't go to our grantors, doesn't go to anybody but you because it's a letter to you. As you read through those the first 2 pages, I'm making light of it because it's boilerplate. If we had any disagreements with management, problems encountered during the audit, we would have orally came to talk to you. We get legal involved, guess what? It's got to be in writing to say we had no disagreements with management. We had no problems encountered during the audit. Again, I'm making light of it. There's 2 pages of information there, so it is important that you do read through it, but it is boilerplate because we didn't have any of those kind of situations that arose. The third page is that page that I was talking about earlier. Those are the adjustments. From where you last seen the numbers to how they show up in the audit, the top 3 would be those changes. You can see they're all pretty small dollar amounts. The very last item is the fire department activity, which we record and put into your audit. You can see those dollar amounts are pretty small too. So basically what I'm telling you is the numbers you've seen previously were materially correct when you look at those adjustments that are there. When attached to that letter is what they call the client representation letter or management representation letter often. I call it the reminder letter because as management read through it, they should have talked to the auditor about everything in that letter. It says there's no conflicts of interest. It says there's no material lawsuits. It's no fraud. There's no problems with the IRS, no problems with the Department of Labor. Again, I'm making light of that letter because it's 5 pages long of representations that were made between management and the auditors. But we're required to give you a copy of it now so you can see those representations that were made between the auditors and management. But again, it's boilerplate. We didn't have to modify it for any reason or any items that needed to be discussed or disclosed in that letter. Kind of questions you have of me? It's kind of quick. It's kind of long. Not as exciting. But I think you got a pretty good report sitting in front of you because we were able to increase some of our cash balances, even though the total went down, but it's because we were spending that COVID money. But our other cash balances had some small increases that show that we're being fiscally responsible with our dollars.
And every account come in under budget.
And every count came in under budget, which is the public's approval. That is correct.
Any other questions for me?
All right, hearing none, I'm gonna sneak out, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So with that being said, Mayor, there's a resolution in the packet to formally accept the audit and we're done.
So we'll move on to new business item A, resolution 1376, acceptance of the audit for the fiscal year of 2025.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 1376, acceptance of the audit for fiscal year 2025. Second.
Got a motion by Council Lady Phillips and a second by Council Lady Caldwell to approve resolution 1376, acceptance of the audit for fiscal year 2025. Any other questions, comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilman Hennis?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips?
Aye.
Councilman Caldwell?
Motion carried. We'll move on to item B, resolution 1377, awarding demolition RFP for 2026 condemnations.
So we sent out an RFP to licensed contractors with the city of Osawatomie. We also published this on our website. We received 3 bids. The one that normally is the low is the high on this one, and then we ended up having 2 new bidders join us this time around. One bid 57, that's Darren Kleitz's business, and then Denton Excavating, which I believe is out of Johnson County. They bid as well. So our recommendation, we evaluated those bids. We called the Denton Excavating because their estimated tonnage was significantly higher than the other 2, and wanted to confirm that how they had arrived at that, but also to confirm that his numbers were not based on a per ton basis. It was a per structure basis, and he did confirm that his bids were just per structure, and his estimated weights were just for us to gauge what kind of a landfill bills he was going to have. So with that, there's some additional information in there. The council put a couple of conditions on 2 structures. One was 1130 Walnut. The other one was 610 or 510 18th Street, number 2. Neither one of those individuals who own those structures complied with what the council set, which was to do an assessment of that trailer to determine whether or not it could be salvaged. And then 1130 was to have an engineer's assessment of that structure, and they elected to go ahead and demo that structure as well. So that only leaves us with the other 2 structures at on 18th Street. As you heard at the condemnation hearings, water was disconnected to those properties for a brief time to fix a leak. Water was turned back on for 510 number 2, but neither of the other 2 structures. The owner of the land at 18th Street trailers did not pay their utility bill. So the power was shut off, and then 10 days after that, per our policy, the water was shut off. So there's no water and there's no power to the lift station up at the 18th Street trailers. And each trailer does actually, well, the 2 that are still occupied does have those have electricity to their trailer, but we're going to have to have an issue with those properties.
So they still have power
in the trailers, yes, but no
power to the lift station.
Yeah, there's a small grinder pump that collected everything from that property and then pushed it on either Main Street or Main Street Terrace. There's a manhole at the end of each of those streets.
And the one that the landowner did never turn the water back on still has no water.
Correct. So now nobody up there has water any longer because we shut that
Nobody
water
has
off.
water.
So our recommendation is to award the bid in the amount of $49,200 to Denton Excavating, and I will say that bid does include 7:15 Pacific. But if the council, depending on the action the council takes on the next agenda item, we will just pull that one from the contractors list to demo if the council elects to allow for this house to be salvaged.
Do we need to talk about that first before we?
I would award this and we can just tell them to pull 7:15 Pacific off their list and they just won't demo it. And they won't bill us for it.
So the company with the highest tonnage is also the lowest bid.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of, and that's a new,
Last week or
that's Thompson County.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Brett on this?
Have we dealt with them before?
But they'll be required to get a license with the city and then also provide their insurance. And then we'll require tickets from the landfill to ensure that it was all disposed of.
And you have it in writing that that is their price for them houses
Yes.
on top of this.
Yes. Yep. He sent an email to Demolition.
Right. A question from Brett will entertain a motion on the bid acceptance.
I'll move to approve resolution 1377 awarding demo RFP for 2026 condemnations to the low bidder. Denton.
I'll second. Got a motion by Councilman Hennis, a second by Councilman Dickinson to approve resolution 1377 awarding demolition RFP for 2026 condemnations to Denton for the amount of $49,200. Any other question or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilor Dean?
Aye.
Councilor Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilor Hennis?
Aye.
Councilor Phillips?
Aye.
Councilor Caldwell?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to resolution 1378. Consideration of request on 7:15 Pacific. Ian and his partners here.
So, Mayor, what I did was I took the original resolution that condemned the structure. I modified it to reaffirm that this is a condemned house. We're not pulling it off the condemnation and then fixing it. We're keeping it on the condemnation list. And if the council decides to grant Mr. Reeves the opportunity to salvage this house, that's the council's prerogative. But there's a number of things I added into that to include as things that must be done as a condition of pulling this house off of the demolition list. And I don't know if you read the packet or not, but I can read through these items if you've not. But those include repair or replacement of the foundation, including jacking up the house if need be, replacement of any damaged floor joists, replacement of the roof, including adding additional trusses and or new sheeting as needed, completely new electrical system, completely new plumbing from meter to and throughout the house to remove any lead, galvanized or copper pipes, galvanize a gas system pressure test and replaced if necessary. New siding and then lead paint asbestos tests shall be performed. Test results shall be provided to the city building inspector. And any lead or asbestos that is discovered shall be abated in accordance with state environmental regulations.
Before you guys get started, we have on there, you know, a $10,000 shall be deposited with the city to cover the cost of demolition.
Yeah.
But the low bid is 13,000. So is that not designed?
I just put 10,000 in there. So
Right. I know when we've done that in the past, that was designed to cover the cost of the demolition.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wrote this and then we got bids and then I didn't think to go back and update it, but if we can
Yeah, that would,
add that to include 13,000.
just making that note, the council chooses to make that.
And then also June 1 to August 31. I think when you first came here, that he thought it could be done in 2 months, so I put 3 months in the schedule.
Yep.
But yes, we would need to adjust that 10,000 to 13,000 in that section too. But all that to be said, my recommendation to the council still is that, you know, from an administrative standpoint, we've already condemned this structure. My position is that the better path, at least for us, is to not, you know, vacate or undo things we've already done in the past. But Mr. Reeves could in fact go and file a claim with the family that sold this structure to them. But again, it's the council's prerogative. So.
Well, one of the things that, I understand is that the realtor did not inform you that this was under.
Yeah, it was the wholesaler. So we bought it through, it was a wholesaler, not a realtor, but they're kind of the third party. They do the marketing. It was not clear to me that the wholesaler was aware of the situation. I know the seller was definitely aware of the situation, but we were definitely not aware of it. And yeah, I mean, we closed, and you know, within a week of buying the property, we had our contractor out there. We awarded a bid. We already started doing some initial demo and clean out. It was the same day that Caleb called in to get the permits and has to make out about this big mess. So, I completely understand the precedent and how it can be dangerous, if you have a precedent and then going back on it, I completely understand that. I do feel like our situation is a little bit different just because, if you have somebody that's been sitting on a house for a long time and they haven't fixed it, or if we got, deeded over to somebody else, some of the things we talked about last time, I do feel like our situation is a little bit different. We do this for a living. We do it professionally. This house, like I said, this is probably a 7 out of 10 for us as far as, the severity of the damage. We've dealt with much worse. We're very comfortable with the work that needs to be done here. So we really appreciate you considering it and just, giving us the opportunity to at least consider it. So it means a lot to us. If you do let us finish, we'll have an open house and have you all see it. Anyway. Happy to answer any questions you have about, the execution, all that kind of stuff, but this is fairly straightforward for us.
Hope you guys got questions for
Some of the work that is in the resolution, I'm not sure that you guys had planned for necessarily, like the fully redoing electrical system and plumbing. Is that?
That's not a big deal. I mean, it'll be a little bit extra work. The foundation would be, we plan on having an engineer come out and evaluate it. And our plan in situations like this, what we normally end up doing is we'll put a bunch of metal beams under it and piers and basically re-support the floor and then just kind of patch the outside. But whatever we need to do to make the city happy, we're happy to do that.
It adds more work and then you have the same amount of time. So I'm concerned.
It could add a little bit of time onto it. Yeah. But I mean, if you tell us go, we'll get the engineer out, as soon as we can, and we'll get a plan and submit it to you. So, yeah.
I'm gonna ask, if the engineer shows up, says structurally the foundation is shot.
Yeah.
Right? And it's gonna cost X, or you guys get a contract that says it's gonna cost X to fix. Is there a limit to where this is financially reasonable to?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty hefty.
You have a budget.
We have
right?
a pretty hefty.
Everybody's got budget.
Honestly. And we've got, there's quite a bit of the work that we can self-perform as well. So, jacking up that foundation that's not that big of a deal for us, honestly. I mean, we can do one side at a time. The foundation's that tall. It's not a big deal. We just put some I-beams on there, put some jacks, lift it up, take it out, do new block and whatever. So.
But it's new code allow it to still continue to be that tall. If you jack a house up, our new code says you'll have a 4-foot crawl space, right?
I think it would be grandfathered in those. It's a renovation, not a new construction.
Yeah, I don't know, but at a certain percentage, of a rehab, you're now
Bringing yourself
expected to follow the full code. I think it's 50%, right?
I don't know what the percentage is.
I think. I'm just. I'm not trying to be
accurate. Yeah.
Tell you no, that's not my deal. It's But at some point, I believe we've been through this before with people renovating, and once it's deemed more than 50% of a rehab, well, then it has to come to most current code. That's something you want to look at.
I mean, that'd still be cheaper probably than losing it entirely. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna lose quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So not that this is your problem whatsoever, but we borrowed, the buyer got 20,000 for the house. We bought it for 30. But then we've got a 6-figure rehab budget on top of that with our lender, and we're getting charged interest and points on the entire amount, not the $30,000 amount. And then obviously the demo's money as well. So, this could go this would be pretty bad for us. It's a 6-figure decision, honestly. And, the other thing is I talked to some of the local builders who built some of the other houses over there. And, the reality is to do a 3-bed, 2-bath house in this area, it's about $200,000, just in cost. And, you do the math, those houses were selling for $240,000, $250,000, and $260,000. The only way that it's economically viable is if you are the builder, you do it yourself, you're using cash, you're not getting a loan, you're buying the lots, at tax sales for next to nothing. If you do all of that and your wife's a realtor, you might be able to squeeze out a little bit of profit. But, the reality is if this gets torn down, it's probably going to be sitting as an empty lot for, a long time. The economics of rebuilding just don't work. So I think it would be much better for the city to have a house and an empty lot there on it.
I understand sticking with our process is something we have been very wanting to do. But I do feel that this is a different situation than what we've had in the past where the owner has come in after we'd already done it and wanted to do something and didn't complete the work. But, we've,
When you say that the owners come in after,
after we had already discussed
Condemned it.
it and condemned it and wanted to have time, and we didn't give that to them because we do have the process, so it's a matter of whether or not we want to go outside the process that we have had all this time. And that concerns me because that could bring up a lot of comments or issues in the future. However, would this be a good for a community to have another home available and 13,000 less in demolition money? So it depends on how much heartache we might have in the future over a decision that we make tonight.
Can I ask you how they would find out? I'm just curious.
Mhm.
Can I ask you how they would find out or how this decision, somebody else in the same situation would come to this decision, I guess, or find out about this decision?
Well, this is open record, so.
Yeah, a lot of people watching this. We're on video right now, so.
So, it's open record, so anybody can look this up.
and we truly don't try to do under the table deals and we try to be transparent.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we don't do.
contrary to what we heard from Stephen, we try to be as open as we can. So,
I feel really bad that you're in this spot, but I'm worried about the precedent because there will be more houses that need condemned. And
Is there any way that we can?
and I
help you
don't
guys
believe this is the
avoid that?
first time we've been through this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've sure in the length of time I've sat on council and now here that we went through this exact same thing before that somebody knew the house would get condemned, get it sold, and try and get out from underneath it. And then unfortunately, That's where we went with the first time we spoke, was like, it's kind of really between you and the
Owner.
owner, the person that you bought from. Now,
If you know that, how much notice do you have before houses go into condemnation? It seems like there should be a way to, like, if somebody like us, doesn't need to be us, but if somebody came in and knew, okay, this house is 6 months away from, going to condemnation, and you came to the owner and had a reasonable conversation, it seems like a lot of that could be avoided.
So the process is, we identify a structure that needs to be condemned. The council will adopt a resolution that establishes a date for a hearing for that condemnation.
Yeah.
That resolution has to be mailed to the owner of record, and it must be published for 2 consecutive weeks in the official paper, and then the hearing cannot be held any sooner than 30 days after its second publication.
Right.
So we only meet twice a month, second and fourth Thursdays, whatever today is.
Yeah.
My first meeting back from vacation, so back in the group, thanks. But so it realistically, it amounts to, it's a good 60+ days before, from the time we initiate the process.
Yeah.
To the time when the condemnation actually occurs.
But it would then be up to the owner to make something happen, right? But what I'm saying is, like, we've dealt a lot with, you get these people, they're just they're in these super stressful situations, and they just sort of stick their head in the sand because they don't want to deal with things. And like, that's part of what we do, in our business, is you find somebody that's in that situation, and you can talk to them, okay, like, this is about to happen, like, this is a much better solution for you than getting your house torn down. Obviously not every house can be saved, but like for the community, like I talked about the economics there, but the reality is, when the home values are in that 250 range, you can't rebuild. Like, it's way better to keep those houses and rebuild them versus tearing them down if you can. Is there any way to, like, hey, these are 5 people that I've worked with before that have done a good job that we trust, like, let them know, this is going to get demolished, and they could go and talk to those homeowners and, maybe talk some sense into this. I mean, it's for their best interest as well, It's thought.
I'm very torn on this thing. I know that there's processes, I know there's that, but sometimes there are exceptions to be made, which we have done that too. Maybe not at this part of it. But there are exceptions.
You said one of your wives was a realtor.
My wife is, yeah.
Does she be able to sell that house here once all the improvements are made and everything?
Yeah, either her, we've got 2 realtors, my wife and one other that we work with, yeah. Yep.
We have done this before. More often than not, it turned out okay. The 2 times that it didn't. It's 10 years talking here, so.
I think if we can we are good if we can justify that decision. And I think just, sticking to the fact that this is something that they absolutely feel can be rehabbed. They can do it successfully in the amount of time that they have laid out in here, that we should give them that opportunity. And we can justify that with something coming up. We have some situations that may be iffy out there, but it's not the same condition. That they don't have anybody. It's not even, they're more like maybe mobile homes or something like that are not conforming, that we can actually justify why we wouldn't reverse a decision on them.
So we're at the point where if somebody would like to make a motion, if not, then it dies on the.
All right,
I make a move to approve resolution 1378, consideration of the request on 7/15.
Before you get the second, would you say, to adjust that cash
Yes.
holding?
Yes.
Dollar?
And to adjust the cash holding of $13,000 to cover demolition if that comes to pass.
Second.
So we've got a motion by Council Lady Phillips and a second by Council Lady Caldwell to approve resolution 1378, consideration of request on 7/15 Pacific with making the adjustment to the cash balance to be held to 13,000 to cover the cost of our demolition contractor's estimate to demo the property. There. Any question or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Dean?
Gone back and forth on this for probably the last 10 minutes, both ways. But I'll say yay.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Aye. Nay.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to ordinance 3879, amending chapter of Article 1 of the City Code for maintaining the meetings of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
So, yes, it passed. You guys have the list of all the requirements
Yep.
that we will be requiring. We have 90 days, right?
Yep.
Starting June 1?
Yep.
Okay. So
You can start as soon as you pull a permit.
We will not let you down.
pull permits, get license, all the things we need.
All right, thank you.
Let's make this one work.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Move on to ordinance 3879.
So, the planning commission, in 2023, we started the process of reviewing the comprehensive plan or writing a new comprehensive plan. The meeting times originally were codified to be at 6 or 6:30, I believe. But we wanted to move that up to 5 PM in order to give the amount of the planning commissioners additional time and not eat up their entire evening. So we temporarily moved the meeting times to 5 PM. And then subsequent to that, we also codified that to be permanent at 5 PM. The planning commission then met twice this year to perform two functions that's required of them in city code and state statute. One is to select officers, a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And then the other one is to review the comprehensive plan, which is an annual requirement of state statute. So we've done both of those things, and then the commission has not met since. But at that last meeting, they requested that since we are nearing the end of all the work, the last thing to be done is to wrap up the revisions to the zoning regulations. Is that they would like to go back to one meeting per month, and that would be on the 4th Tuesday of each month. And then the code, I will mention the code does allow for special meetings to be called as needed with proper notice. And then obviously any sorts of applications like special use permits, rezonings, all of those things, those require public hearings, and there's 20 days notice required to be given before those hearings happen. And that notice has to be in the paper, and depending on what it is, sometimes mailed out to surrounding property owners as well. But that being said, all this resolution does is just remove the first planning commission meeting of each month, which is the second Tuesday, and just makes it a one meeting per month board of the city council.
So they have requested this, the commission itself?
Yes, because the work with the comprehensive plan and the zoning regulations are, the comp plan is done.
Because this was temporary in the first place.
Yes, and so The only thing left is the revisions to the plan, to the zoning regulations. And they're halfway through those. We haven't met on a variety of different reasons. I want to say it might go clear back to fall of 2025 was the last time we met. But Mike, as you know, was the consultant on that at the time, and he was having some medical issues that he was dealing with. So, so anyway, we've not picked that back up, but the plan is to pick that up as soon as Memorial Hall is finished, and that is expected to be done at the end of this month. And then we'd like to get those wrapped up. But this was a request. Yes, this was a request of the Planning Commission.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 3879 amending chapter 16, article 1 of the city code pertaining to meetings of the Osawatomie Planning Commission.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Dickinson, a second by Councilman Phillips to approve ordinance 3879. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilmember Hennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Phillips? Aye. Councilmember Caldwell?
Motion carries. I will start, council reports to my left. Councilman Dean?
Yeah, I gotta say something. I am 71 years old. I worked for the city for 41 of those 71 years. I'm currently now involved with the city for another 8. For anybody believes that I don't like that I'm not for the city, it hurts me badly. I've invested a lot of time in this place. And I hate to see anybody tell me what I think without knowing or asking me. That's basically it.
Okay, thanks, Kenny. I'm not as old as you, but anyway, I haven't worked for the city either. But I am on the council now for 10 years. I'm of the opinion of you, Kenny, that people are taking advantage. What we have on our agenda, it's citizen comments from the public. It's not a discourse back and forth. We listen. We don't have to talk back or answer questions. Okay, it's comments. It's our meeting. We're here to get input from you. A year and a half ago, we had 5 people at our council meetings for the 6 months before. Nobody was coming. Yeah, that was something most people don't hear this much from me, and they know that. And who's to say that we aren't doing our research? I am fact checking every one of the facts that are being presented. I listen to the meetings and find them. I go out on the internet. I've been working in IT for 49 years. I worked at the state hospital for 31 years. I know exactly how those patients are. Mechanical rooms in those patient units are loud. Now I'm in there, I can't hear them. Sometimes I can hear them. But when I'm outside, I can hear stuff running in the mechanical room. Does that mean that putting this equipment and all this stuff running across Osawatomie Road is going to make it all the way there? Maybe. But nothing I've seen is going to affect anything that they're going through on treatment. So that's just what I've seen there. And the only thing I'm interested in on this data center is the noise factor and the environmental impact. I want to make sure that the stream beds that are already there, creek beds, the flow going through, keeps going. There's stuff on the other side, and stuff that goes into the river. And if the data center they're proposing, it's probably gonna change the design before it's actually put in. We're going all electric, there's not gonna be hardly any water use. It's be a lot of fans, which would make more noise. Just have to landscape around it. See what they can do to try and fix that. They can limit lighting by the way they have it set up and focused. Yes, I have been reading the internet, and yes, city council people have been recalled. And yes, they have sued against the city after they recalled the city council people. The same people that had them recalled. So we're suing the people that they got elected. So that makes a lot of sense too. But yeah, it bothers me that people think that we don't research. We do research. And I have been in data centers. I work next door to a servers room with 30 servers and 6 switches in it with a 2-inch hardwood door between me and it. For 25 years. It may sound like I'm crazy now, but I'm not. I have a hearing problem, but that's my choice on how I listen to my music. Not where I was working. So, I'm sorry, I went too far.
Mrs. Harp, what was your first name? Jennifer. I want to thank you for staying till the end. I do appreciate that.
I feel like it's more respectful, yes.
It's not easy sitting up here and people think you don't care. I talk about it every day, think about it every day. My wife will tell you, she's annoyed with me every day. Don't take us not responding as we don't care. I don't know that you feel that way, but people can watch this video later and believe what they want, but
To be fair, I've heard a lot and I'm coming here with a blank slate. When it comes to personalities, any rumors, because usually there is a loop and I am open on that thing. So, like I said, coming with a blank slate, my concerns.
We appreciate you being at the high school too. From us that are graduates of OHF.
I have not tried this.
so yeah, I just wanted to say thank you because this is what happens. They come and say what they want. They don't care that our audit's good. They don't care that, you know, what we have to say when it's our chance to talk. I mean, if we did it back and forth, answering every question, we'd just be here arguing like we were on Facebook. And we'd be here till 2 or 3 in the morning. So this is a business meeting. I wrote down all these notes, 2 pages or 3 pages of notes of stuff that was said. I take it seriously, and it hurts me also like it hurts those guys that people think we don't care.
As a teacher, I clock it. I can tell who's paying attention, who's taking notes, who's scrolling on their phone. I don't even want to be used to doing that, but I do.
I do think you made a comment about body language, about how that means we're not paying attention, but now you're saying we're okay, so I don't.
Well,
It was a little chilly in here.
You know, just because my arms are crossed doesn't mean that I don't care or I'm not listening. I'm not arguing, but I'm just saying, like, it hurts me that we sit here for an hour and nobody stays to hear how we really feel and what we're really doing in the background.
I appreciate that.
That's all I've got.
I would like to expand on some of that of thanking you for staying because there's a lot of complaints about we didn't know this was going on and we didn't know that was going on. Well, when you don't stay or you don't come originally to the meetings, I mean, at least this data center thing has gotten people in here. But like you said, they do come, they hear that part and then they leave. Well, you're not going to know what's going on in the community, what the decisions we've made if you pick up and leave at that, what you think affects you. So we can't communicate to you, you know, everything, and you're not going to take in everything if you're just going to leave. So I do appreciate anybody who sticks through the mundane stuff, you know, along with it, because you might be missing out on something. So I do appreciate that, everybody who has stuck around. So, and yes, we do talk to some of our constituents. You know, we talk to people in town. I, for one, get around town a lot, you know, and I have people that will ask me questions, you know, and I try to be very honest with them about the data center. Am I for or against it? I haven't made that decision yet. Because, you know, we're not at that point where we really need to. We are still gathering information on that. So I keep an open mind with that until I get all the information. And I tell people that ask me that. And I said, you know, it's an idea of that it shouldn't be something that controls us, that we should be able to control it. We should be able to put parameters down and restrictions on a data center when that time comes. So it's not like something would come in and have totally control over our town. We can set boundaries, you know, and learn from other people's mistakes. Are we going to make the same mistakes as other towns? We should learn from those mistakes and then set those boundaries so that doesn't happen to us. So whether I'm for or against, I have not made that decision yet. And so that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm the one that laughs. That's all I can say. I've been doing a lot of research. I listen to people. I talk to a lot of people. And we have conversations back and forth about what we think is right, wrong, and indifferent with lots of things. Not only the data center. I think we'll do our best to make sure that it is looked at many different levels in many different ways. And there'll be discussions and it'll be transparent. And I think that's what people want, is the transparency and you know.
To be fair, I know I'm not, but I mean, obviously you're flexible. You let those guys have a chance when it had already been a closed book. So
They need to be able to express themselves, but also a lot gets very poorly put. And I think sometimes that they don't realize that some of the things that they're saying is hurtful.
I think she was talking about the house back.
Right.
So what?
She's talking about 715 Pacific.
Oh, yeah.
The house, yeah.
Yeah.
I am sure.
That was a tough decision too. It's very,
and threats, and just to put that out there, threats to our positions and stuff like that would be not fair to the position we hold if we let threats
Dictate our vote.
dictate our vote. Thank you for that. We are not going to let threats dictate our vote. We're going to do what's best for the city, and that's what it is. And if it costs us a seat for some reason down the line, I can live with that. So just to throw that out there.
The fact that one of the speakers tonight is actually my niece. And she lives right next, we'll be living right next to it. So I'm taking that into consideration. Of course, I'll take it into consideration with anybody living there, but that's just a little closer to home. So.
Yeah. I do have a question. Down on Kelly. What's happening?
I thought it was the drainage.
It is the drainage, and I understand that, but it's been open for quite a while.
Yes, so the ditch through there, we have very, very little fall. And so Jason and the crew have been trying to install those concrete poles. And as we've gone through and tried to make sure that we have positive flow from the detention basin all the way to the levee, we've had to keep kind of adjusting those pipes. And so it's taken a little bit longer than we had hoped. But where we originally put them with where they had already done the ditch clean out, they actually would have been sticking up in the road. So we had to go back through, and readjust those levels and reset those pipes. But that's done. Flow fill has come in, to my understanding. I guess I didn't get to check it today, because I had an appointment this afternoon. But once that sets up, then we'll be putting a concrete top on it and it'll be back open.
Awesome. I have gone through the new edition a couple, 3 times because, I forget. But that just gives me a chance.
We had
to-
hoped it would be a lot faster, but
it's
we
fine.
ran into some issues with where they were gonna set, so.
When it's done right, it doesn't matter. That's the important part.
That is definitely the.
Gotcha.
Good over there? Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm gonna talk about something a little bit different than everybody.
Okay.
Pride Committee, we got the mulch put in downtown. We had, I believe it was 7 volunteers show up for a couple hours. And, wasn't it? All right.
It was about 7, yeah.
7 of us. And then, the hub downtown, our flower beds, Paul's Bobcat donated their time and equipment to go get dirt and sand and everything put in there. And the Boy Scouts, I believe, had set a time to go meet with, Country Roots Greenhouse down around, south of Beagle, that's new, that has agreed to donate the flowers for everything there in the hub so that they can plant them, get them going. Jeff even went and put some compost on top of the sand dirt mix we put in there. So the flowers hopefully before the 22nd will be planted and growing for alumni weekend. So that's a plus. And if there was stuff in the park that you needed mulch now that you got planted, just let me know. Soldiers Monument and
When do you have the flowers? When do you have planted flowers again up at the hub?
the Boy Scouts are planning
I
that.
believe they're getting.
Is that when they're going to? I think they are. I think they're going down to pick them up tomorrow and then plant tomorrow, is the way I understood it. But the Boy Scouts are handling all that for us.
Okay.
Um,
The mulch is good for around that area,
Up there at the,
Kevin. Except it does need to be just raked out a little bit. I've gotta go to a funeral this weekend, so I'm not able to get up there to probably get that done this week. I'll try to get it tomorrow.
Right.
I gotta go out of town. I'm Indiana for that. So yeah, I'll try to get up there and get that done.
I also made it into Memorial Hall for the first time this week since the renovation. I've been avoiding that. I'm very impressed with what it looks like in there. I think it's going to be definitely a showpiece for the town. The woodwork that Doug Walker and whoever's helping him, and I don't know who's helping him.
Osawatomie High School.
Osawatomie.
Woodworking class.
Okay. Making the wainscoting and everything for all around the room. I think it was the right decision to go ahead and do the big room while we're doing the bathrooms and the kitchens and stuff. It's going to look very, very nice, up there when it's done. It's definitely changed it. The look, opened it up. How tall the ceilings and the pendant lights and the whole shoot match, it's really gonna look good. So whoever's been working on that still appreciate that. I will make one little comment too tonight too. My daughter's a 4th generation graduate come Sunday. We've been here a long time. I would never do anything to try to hurt this community. To answer your question, whether I would vote for something in 100 yards from my back door, I don't like being a hypocrite either. So I need to see the community, what we've been waiting on is what benefit do we get? We all know the cons or the cons that are all over the internet and you do the research and all of that. Now, if that thing could benefit my entire community and it's 100 yards from my back door and I don't like it, then I'm the hypocrite if I say no, right? Council lady here had a subdivision put in her backyard. What has been her backyard since the time she's lived there. Right across the street from my house. It's been an open field. Things affect somebody positively and negatively, no matter what project we're doing. I feel bad for the people who have it 100 feet from their back door. We don't know that it's 100 feet from your back door because we don't know what's going on up there. We don't know where the buildings go. We don't know how big the buildings are. We don't know how much power they want to use, how much water they may or may not want to use. The sound deadening that they're going to do, we don't know all that. So we can't sit up here and answer questions with answers that we don't have. That's what we've been trying to say this entire time. Yes, I did say we don't want to have our feet held to the fire because we don't have the answer. If we had the answer, we might be able to make that, might be able to give you that answer if we had it, but we don't. But nobody on this council is trying to destroy Osawatomie or anybody's property, or make it hellacious to live here. I mean, I don't know why we would ever have volunteered to do the things that we do and be on these boards if that was our goal. So that's all I've got. City reports.
Okay. Okay. So the reason we don't have any of those answers that Nick was talking about is we don't have an application for a special use permit. We don't have an application for a rezone. All we have is a pre-development agreement, and that's all we have. And so we've been saying since January that the people are trying to put this cart way before the horse, and we just don't have anything to discuss beyond what was put in that pre-development agreement. There's no NDAs that are going to get signed next week. The only thing that we have are that site plan, that preliminary site plan, which was just blocks on a map. It's going to change, guaranteed, because they have to go through the special use permit process. And that process is where the planning commission gets to hang requirements on the developer, the limit light, limit sound, but we're just not there yet. So what they are doing is, as we've mentioned every meeting since January, is they are doing their due diligence to ensure that these two properties are even a good fit for a data center. They may come back and say, you know what? We don't like building this right next to these houses. And so we either need to buy the houses or go somewhere else. Those two things are possibilities. I mean, I don't know. So they're doing their due diligence and they are compiling a community benefits analysis. And those benefits will be captured in a community benefits agreement. So we ensure that those things actually do happen and those things do come to the community. And when that analysis is available and it's transmitted to the city, we will have a public meeting. We'll probably have a series of public meetings with the public. Anybody who wants to come, whether you're from Paola, Gardner, Garnett, Ottawa, or Osawatomie residents, or Miami County residents. There are benefits to this. There are benefits to the county and there are benefits to the school district. And there are tax benefits to this. Taxes can get cut with this project at all three levels of the major taxing jurisdictions, city, county, and school. But we don't know what that amount can be until we see those benefits, that benefits analysis. We threw out a number one time when we were just trying to estimate what the shell of a building was, and we thought maybe 20%, and we believed that to be a very conservative number. I still believe that to be a very conservative number. But a 20% tax cut to the residents of Osawatomie is still a really good cut. And the county and the school is going to have tax benefits from this property too. So even at Osawatomie's bare minimum 20%, there I go. The school could cut and the county could cut, but that's for them to decide, not for us to decide. So yes, I guarantee you that if this comes, there will be tax cuts. That much I promise you. One of my jobs is to propose a budget every year to the city council. And thank you for who has stayed and listened to the audit, because that's the culmination of a budget. But my job, one of my responsibilities, in addition to enforcing codes, is to present a budget to the city council. And I do that every year. I've done 10 now for the city of Osawatomie. I look forward to proposing a cut to our mill levy in the first budget that I get to make, assuming I'm still here, if this thing actually goes forward. that's what I look forward to. To change the subject, I won't go into a whole lot of details, but Christian, my stepson, he's going to make a full recovery. So thank you for your prayers. I really appreciate it.
Okay, I will switch gears entirely. So hailstorm event, we're still working on wrapping up inspections with the insurance company on buildings and vehicles, getting those estimates. We have wrapped up yard waste pickup. And we do have some properties still, particularly some of our cemetery areas, to finish doing city pickup. We did have to burn off the forestry site in order to create some room. It got filled up pretty quickly with everything that was collected from town. So that's been burned off, and then we'll be continuing to collect anything that remains on city properties. Also, we are starting event prep season. We've got alumni, then jamboree, and then lights on the lake. So from here on out, other than finishing up some of the storm cleanup, Public Works will be working pretty much entirely on events and making sure that the community puts its best foot forward for those events. I'm sure you guys have seen our guys out doing some painting of crosswalks. That's always a little bit of a nuisance, but it needs to be refreshed every year. And then finally, we did have the opportunity today to send a crew with our equipment over to Paola. They helped assist. They had 13 active water leaks. And so we were very happy to do that. It's always nice to be able to help communities, and they have helped us in return at different times. And I just wanted you guys to be aware that we did send a whole crew with our equipment to help with those leaks. And I think that's all I have.
I do have a question for
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Whatever came up with the hailstorm and anything, was we able to, the city qualify for or anything? Did they not do the state declared that or something for us to, yeah.
I've not heard any update on any of that past what we have already done.
I need to reach out to the sheriff's department because they're usually in the emergency management coordinator, but normally that's driven based on the degree of damage that's caused to a community. So there was right after the storm, I think you saw where Under Sheriff Kelly put on a Facebook post that said, hey, if you sustain damage, go in and put in the damage that you sustained to your property. The more people do that, the more they're able to calculate how much actual damage was done to private property in the community. So we know what's been done to our property. I mean, we're getting there. We've received a couple of checks already from, I think, mainly our fire insurance, but it's really important for individuals to go in and find that link and report that damage. Because it helps document, and then once it crosses a certain threshold, then it could become FEMA eligible if it crosses a certain threshold. So.
And I can double check that link is still active and then put it at the top of our Facebook again.
Yeah, because I don't people, and I didn't know that I would individually need to go in and do that in order for them to know the extent of that damage.
Yep, so we can get that.
I didn't need anything because of course I have insurance, I have this, I have all that, but to let them know if they're tracking the extent of the damage in a community as a whole, that I don't think that people understood that that's what they're doing, is they're just reporting that and stuff.
The link is that active? Because
I'm not sure that it's active. I will check and I'll make sure it's back at the top today or tomorrow.
I filled out mine yesterday.
Oh, it is?
So
Okay,
was still-
perfect. So I'll make sure
still
that-
active, but I think it'd be great to have it go out a couple more times.
And maybe it's just an explanation that you need to do that, to.
Dale Brunton gave somebody a number that I believe he contacted at the state level. He didn't tell me what, he's got the phone number, and maybe we can get it from him, and what the actual agency is called that was kind of a help.
Probably KDM.
For individuals.
Something for individuals, maybe for deductibles or different things.
Yeah.
That's the way I took the conversation.
Yeah.
So-
I think he passed that on to Liam when
Okay.
said that he had given her that number. So I think that's what it's for, is to help those that
would need help reaching. I think, speak for everybody, I found out what my new wind and hail deductible was in this storm. And I did not realize we had done that over the last year. So that's awfully nice.
Didn't check your renewals.
Percentage.
You're
Says
correct.
insurance
I
lady.
got the renewal and it got on the buffet and the next thing you know, it's like, okay, yeah.
So that does put a hardship on a lot of
It
people
does.
in the community. I mean, a lot. It's one thing to have insurance, but to have $5,000 sitting around and have to pay that deductible is, plus your cars,
Yeah.
is
Neighbor
very
found,
hard for community members to do that.
neighbor found out his renewal was $6,000.
Yep.
For his wind and hail. And
Yeah.
Or I've heard a lot of people say that their new policy doesn't cover anything cosmetic. So if it's paint, fascia, if the roof not actively leaking, then it's cosmetic.
So we do really have people that need to, that need that service.
Yeah, shelter insurance, they're the ones that did get through this storm that I've heard of. Not who I have, but that's what I've heard come back.
American Family's done pretty good too, but you know, I used to be in that, so.
Any other staff reports?
Any?
I don't think so.
If not, we'll entertain.
Okay,
Oh,
yes. Kenny?
Oh, and also we got a staff report and then we got a clarification too.
Just two things for the police department. We have click it or ticket starting next week on the 18th. So make sure everybody's wearing your seatbelts. That funding, as the auditor alluded to, is federal money that's given to the city for reimbursement of overtime, and we do get equipment out of that as well. Additionally, within the last 2 weeks, we received 6 tasers that were surplus to Lynn County Sheriff's Department. Those tasers are letting us kind of bide some time before we have to get new tasers for the department wide. That was a nice gift that they provided us at no cost. That's all I have.
Thank you. Kenny?
One clarification tonight, a statement was made that Brett knew that we needed to have a new water plant because we were gonna have a data center here. Brett wasn't even an employee of the city of Osawatomie when it was decided that we needed a water plant. He was on the committee, but he was a regular citizen at the time. I think that needs to be clarified.
It's a true story.
The Osawatomie Water Task Force, the meeting said on started 19 or 20.
It was spring of 21.
The task force started before that.
Did it?
We're having meetings up here with, Mike Scanlon had just got hired. I guess it would have been 20. Right. I
I'm
believe,
getting old. I'm 50.
I believe, but it tells me it was 20. Mike was on it and we had Rural Water 3 involved and we did not involve Rural Water 2 because it didn't. Aimed to us. But yes, that water plant's been planned a lot longer than this data center has ever even been discussed. You were right.
And the current water plant is at a capacity of 3 million gallons. I think that's important. So
Right.
always
We're
mention
not building a
that
bigger
we're not
plant,
building
replacing
something
the
bigger.
same volume.
We're replacing the same capacity.
I don't think, well, for the most part, at least when I was up there. That way, even in the summertime, went over 1.1 million.
And the capacity isn't necessarily that we're making that water every day at 3 million gallons and then wasting it or anything like that. It allows us to run 1 or 2 shifts instead of 24-hour shifts, even when we have an issue like major water leaks, like what Paola is dealing with right now, or a large fire that needs a lot of water very quickly. So it allows us to have the capability of, for a short period, producing that kind of water, and then for the rest of the time be able to run just a shift or 2 and not have overnight shifts. More efficient.
Move we adjourn.
Second, got a motion by Councilman Dean, a second by Councilman Dickinson for adjournment. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.